As we approach this fall, I thought I would be remiss if we didn't address the ass-backward nature of how our government politicians handled the disease that shall not be named. So let's just go through the list of crazy that was implemented and foisted on our shoulders over these past 2 years. So these are all failed immune policies, policies that didn't work, that didn't slow down the spread of communicable disease, but actually served to further deteriorate our immune systems. And if we learn from the past, hopefully we can prevent the problems being repeated in the future. So let's check this out. Isolate inside. That was one of the main pieces of advice we were given. Go lock yourself indoors. Why is that a problem? I don't know, fresh air. Maybe there's a benefit to getting it sometimes. Maybe there's a benefit to sunshine. Maybe vitamin D and melatonin are important for immune function. After all, vitamin D was one of the major treatments given in hospitals during the epidemic time frame to help people. So isolating inside is the opposite of getting adequate vitamin D. What was one of the other policies? Social distancing. This is one I couldn't fathom because it made no sense. There's never been any studies, there's never been any science on whether or not standing 6 feet away from somebody is going to stop the spread of a virus versus standing 3 feet or 2 feet or 8 feet away from that person. Now, common sense would dictate that you don't want to breathe in the respiratory debris coming out of somebody's sneeze. Certainly that makes sense. However, social distancing is part of what led to isolationism and people being scared of other people. And when you couple that fear, you get a group think that being near another human being is a problem and a spread for disease, then you end up with a society that's at war with itself. You end up with people hating each other, people looking at each other, with the crazy eye. And it just wasn't good as a policy. We also saw that policy in schools. We saw that policy in public places. And I think it was a failed policy that lacked any scientific merit or backing. We also closed down businesses. And what was really ironic to me is some of the businesses that were closed while others were allowed to be open. What does it mean to have an essential business? To me, I always thought being able to earn a living to take care of your family's needs for clothing, shelter, and food was an essentiality for all humans in free countries. But apparently not. Our government didn't agree. They closed down gyms where now you can't exercise to keep your fitness level up during a time where you need your fitness. But they're leaving alcohol stores open. They're leaving liquor stores open. How does that make sense? Liquor's an immunosuppressant. Exercise supports immune function, but we're going to create essentiality out of businesses in the opposite direction of good health policies. And so that was another major failure. What else? Let's all wear masks. No, let's all wear 2 masks, right? No, let's get a shot and then still wear masks. Like, what was the whole point of the whole mask issue other than making a few politicians extremely wealthy people through their deals with China mask makers? And if you caught any of the online stories on where these masks were made and how they were made, you saw people in dirty nightshirts basically putting masks together on dirt floors, under zero sanitary conditions, and then those very same masks were being sold to us under the auspice that they were somehow going to protect us from germs. But the reality is most of these masks contain microplastics that suppress the immune system. They also contain chemical contaminants called PFASs, perfluoroalkyl substances. These very things, when breathed into the lung fields, can increase your risk for picking up respiratory infections. Not even to discuss the filth and the debris that accumulates in the moisture of the mask, leading to a bacterial and viral haven that you just keep repetitively breathing. And then if we add to that the fact that we're closing down one of your primary holes, right? We've got primary holes in our head and none of them are supposed to be closed by masks or plugs or anything else. So keep those holes open. Don't repeat those mistakes of the past. What should have probably happened during this pandemic issue was we should have been encouraged to go outside. One of the biggest failed policies that I saw, and this was from the top down, was wear your mask in a national park. You're out in nature, hiking, away from people, and wear your mask in the national park. There was actually signs up everywhere saying wear your mask. It was a mandate, a federal mandate, to have those things on in the great outdoors. A completely ridiculous statement. Consider how much money of your tax dollars were spent on creating stupid signs to put up in thousands of places across the country, instead of actively telling you you can exercise, you can get sunshine, you can make sure that you're eating whole real food, and that is the best thing for your immune system. And this is really where our government failed. They made no mention of those things, and all the emphasis was on wash your hands with chemicals, wear masks that contain chemicals, go inside and socially isolate, and whatever you do, don't use good judgment and common sense to take care of your family and continue to stay at your job. And the coup d'etat to top it all off was inject yourself with a vaccine that has zero long-term data or research to back up its efficacy, to back up whether or not it's actually even safe. And the doctors probably were the most guilty of this one, because they got in line and they were pushing it just as hard as the government was, despite the scientific evidence. So I don't care if you got the vaccine or if you didn't. This isn't about me trying to call you out for doing something that I personally didn't do. This is about learning from the past so that we can move forward in the future and not make the same silly mistakes that created such a catastrophic consequence to our country.